your energy has traveled around the world and has been a guiding force for so many people that are in the what the fuck moments, that you created a gift and alchemized lead into gold.
Do you want to give the whole thing away or just a little bit of it?
Well, we didn't talk about this before the podcast, did we?
No, we didn't. I'll leave it to you. I trust you.
Okay. This is the first time that we've announced it or shared anything about this. But Lily and I are collaborating together and we are making our very own. Welcome to the Deja Blu podcast, where we believe that living a life of magic can be the default. Join us each week as we playfully and authentically dive into the mysteries of life and explore what it truly means to be human. From spirituality, wellness, and all things taboo, we don't hold anything back. So without further ado, let's let the magic unfold. So I'd like to share with you mud water. Mud water has become my morning drink in replacement for coffee because it gives me that beautiful boost of energy and focus without the side effects of the jittery, ungrounded, nervous, and the energy that then crashes later. Mud water is also action-packed with our superfood mushrooms, including lion's mane and cordyceps and reishi, as well as other superfoods to support with that beautiful stream of energy and focus. What I also love about Mud water is that they pay forward some of their profits into supporting mental health research through psychedelics. And as you know, if you've been a part of the Deja Blu podcast or have tuned in, that psychedelics have been a big support on my journey of self-awareness and evolution. And so I'm so excited that Mud water is paying forward to support with one of the greatest pandemics on the planet, which is our mental health. So if you're interested in getting into Mud water and learning more, go to the show notes and there is a link, www.mudwater.blue, and you can get $20 off your order with some free goodies. So go check it out. Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome back to another episode of the Deja Blu podcast. You will not know what it is taking for us to press record on today's episode. We've got leaf blowers going on, so we had to press pause and restart. And then we had Lily vomiting and she went over to the corner room and David gave her a little bit of a baby belch. And so that happened. Not Lily the human. P.S. Sometimes it's a little bit confusing. Today's guest, her name's Lily. And spelt and said the same way as my dog. So Lily and I, the human, have been spending a significant amount of time together for the last few months. And whenever I'm telling people stories around what it is that we've done or the adventures we've been on, people just think that me and my dog are bonding like deeply, you know, like me and Lily have got a table for two at a restaurant and Lily and I have sat in a ceremony and, you know, everyone's like, wow, you and your dog are really bonding. There was one moment, I'm going to have to be really honest. There was one moment at the end of one of my recent episodes where we finished the episode and then Lily went on just before we ended recording and rubbing her asshole all over the floor and the set. Like she literally was like rubbing her asshole everywhere. And I texted Andre and I said, yeah, the podcast went well. However, Lily rubbed her asshole all over the set just before we closed out the episode. And he just responded saying, I'm really hoping that you're talking about Lily the dog, not the human. And I was like, all right, so we need to differentiate the two. Lily the dog threw up in the corner, not Lily the human. She is very well poised and ready to go for today's episode. So I am really excited and just very in a lot of gratitude for today's episode and today's guest. As you know, and if you've been listening to the podcast, I went through a pretty gnarly 6 months of just complete disintegrating of my heart, of my mind, of my body, of just my relationship with myself, how I speak to myself, where I'm getting my external validation from, if I need external validation, and actually returning all these pieces of power back to myself. Now that heartbreak, breakdown, complete like destruction of everything that you know to be solid in your life, also known as the Tower card in the tarot, is a very, very delicate process, and it happens to all of us multiple times. And that is just the nature of being alive. It's the cyclic nature of being human. We have the death, purification, rebirth, integration. It's just a death of an old or outdated sense of ourselves. And so I have gone through that and now come out on the other side. Now, on the other side of the the death and the destruction, it's like I said, it's a delicate process and requires a delicate environment to really cocoon yourself. And a delicate environment for me is people that feel like home. People that feel like I can be whatever it is that I am in the presence of you, and feel that it's actually lovable. In fact, it's actually celebrated as much as the excitement and the joy and the play, but the moment of just like, I don't want to move off the sofa and I just want to sit here and aimlessly scroll online because it helps me numb out for a second from feeling all of this, and to feel in the presence of that, just like, oh, I celebrate this as much as I celebrate the other parts. I can't tell you how rare that is to find that in a human, because we're so judging ourselves in those moments that then when somebody else exhibits a negative expression, we judge them harshly, even if it's internally. Right. And what I really think that holding space actually is to internally be also loving, not just the external things, not just making a cup of tea and smiling when necessary and being like, okay, but then internally being like, God, she's been on the sofa for 3 days. Would you fucking get your act together? That's not holding space. Every single thought is felt when you have trained yourself or silenced yourself enough to listen. And when I am around people that have genuinely purified their internal thoughts to create an unconditionally loving space, so that when the decomposing is happening, that the love is remaining, and that is the place that is the foundation of the next wave to hit, because it's layered in acceptance and celebration and adoration for those really crunchy moments. That is the person that is my guest today. Lily Ashwell has been that for me over the past 6 months and has gifted me infinite amount of blessings through this sisterhood. And I wanted to bring her on the podcast to just have another conversation publicly about what happens behind the scenes. I want to continue to strip back the layers of transparency of what are the things that have helped me on my path. You ask me that question a lot. What are the things that have helped you with the evolution of your consciousness? And one of the main things right up there, actually above psychedelics, altered states of consciousness, breath work, is sisterhood. It's genuine humans that really want you to just be the best version of you at whatever cost, no matter what it takes to get there, no matter how long it takes to get there. And that has been the healing balm for me in some of my toughest moments. And so I'm so grateful and honored to introduce Lily Ashwell to the podcast. She's not only one of my best friends and somebody that has, like I said, been that healing balm and that healing space for me in the in-between moments, but she's also an astrologer. She is the oracle of the stars. She speaks the language of the stars. She can look at the night sky and tell you what's going on. I can tell you, it's so fun having a friend that knows all about your own personal chart, so that when I'm in it, she'll just go out of her way and send me this beautiful paragraph that is like, hey, Bluebies, just so you know, this is what's going on with your Venus and this is what's going on over here. So this is a little bit of context as to why this may be happening. It literally softens my entire body, my nervous system, my breathing gets deeper. And it's just that sense of feeling of like, oh, I trust this. I trust this bigger thing because I can see it from a meta perspective without the personal attachment. So I've got my pocket astrologer. And the way that I found Lily, and in addition to that, by the way, she's not just an astrologer. She's one of the most incredible artists I've ever come across. She actually has magic hands. She turns what once was a thought into a physical thing and makes the most magical things, whether she built her own fire pit in her backyard or placed these incredible Victorian tiles in her bathroom while she renovated her entire house as a project with her mother. She is really just one of the most best kept secrets of Topanga, I'd say, if not all of America, if not the world. That's, I mean, just my biased opinion. And how I found this remarkable human was just through a stroke of magic and luck. And P.S., you make your own luck. But in those moments, I was in Greece and I got a reading from a dear friend of mine called Jordan, and she pulled out this incredible deck. It's called Heavenly Bodies Astrology Deck. And I remember the artwork just completely captivated me, and the essence of the words and the vibration of the words was just something that really felt resonance, felt true, felt good in my system. So I bought this deck, Heavenly Bodies Astrology Deck, when I got home. I bought myself and a couple of other friends the deck. And then not long later, I got a message in my DMs. And Lily Ashwell's name just popped up. And I remember her name because I remember looking at who was the author and the creator of this deck. And so that's what put her name in my forefront of my awareness. And she came, she reached out and she said, I feel really connected with you through the podcast. And I said, wow, it's incredible that you're reaching out. The timing of this is remarkable. I just got into your deck. I think it's incredible. And I'm giving a talk at the Conscious Life Expo if you'd like to come and just see what the work that I do in live in person. So she drove all the way downtown. She found it was a nightmare getting parking, the whole thing. It was just like, it was chaos. She came out of her beautiful bubble, came downtown, and then waited at the end of the talk in the meet and greet line. And it was really long line. And I got like 30 seconds with each person. And the second she got to the front of the line, I could actually spot her just like a few people back. And there was this radiance and this aura and this angelic presence that I could feel. And my nervous system just remembered it. And that's when I know that we've done lives before, is when your body just remembers something. The mind is like, well, I don't know this flesh puppet. I don't know this person. I don't know this expression. But the body remembers. It's a somatic sense of a deep exhale. And so when I hugged her, I got 30 seconds with her, but I just knew. I was like, I know this person's going to play a pivotal role in my life. There's certain people that I just know that that's going to be a case as soon as I meet them. Lily Ashwell was one of them. And since then, we have gone on a journey. We have navigated some terrain from out of the far reaches of the cosmos to the depth of our tears and our pain. We have been in each other's lives in more ways than one, but we basically, I mean, I kind of make a joke and say that we're basically married now. I'm the husband. I have a little bit more of like a dominating masculine energy to me. As you'll notice over the podcast, there's a very gentle feminine essence and magic quality to Lily. And she has been one of the biggest reasons as to why I've returned to myself from a place of no longer neglecting myself, but loving myself. And she has this beautiful way. I will finish this intro in a moment, I promise. And she has this beautiful way when I'm like being hard on myself and beating myself up in my own head, like us humans do. She turns to me and she points her finger. She's very, very expressive with her hands, by the way, because she's an artist. Points her finger and she goes, "You be nice to my friend, okay? She's a good person. You better be nice to her." And it's just really sweet, but it's also a really good reminder of being like, I would never talk to anybody like that, ever. I would never speak to anybody like that. But for some reason, it's okay to speak myself like that. And it's become almost like a habitual pattern. And she catches me in those moments and she says, "You better be nice to my friend. I like her and she's a good human." And she just brings me home to myself of being like, yeah, I'm going to be nice to myself. And so welcome to the podcast, Lily Ashwell. It is such an honor to have you here. So grateful, and I know that I'm throwing you in the deep end of being like, let's go on the podcast and bring you out of your shell, and to chat in a way where the cameras melt, and just an opportunity for us to share our sisterhood and the journey that we've been on. So welcome to the podcast and thanks for being here, babe.
Thanks, Fluby. What an intro.
It was the longest intro I think I've ever given.
It was a good one.
But I can't like celebrate you enough. And I would love to open it up with like, what is true sisterhood to you? Because there's like what you thought sisterhood was before our connection, and you would tell me certain way that you would or they would show up for you, and then it was kind of almost like what we think sisterhood is. And then there's actually like learning what the medicinal properties of unwavering, unconditional, I'm not going anywhere. I got your back when you're down. I got your back when you're up, sisterhood. So I'd love to hear from your perspective now what you believe true sisterhood is.
Yeah, well, so much of what I receive in our sisterhood echoes what you spoke into in the intro, which is feeling free to move through any stage of my process in your presence and be witnessed in it. And I think that your ability to hold that kind of space is a byproduct of your commitment to your sovereignty and your commitment to when you're feeling triggered or you're feeling any kind of resistance out in the world, you constantly bring it back to yourself and you constantly look inward. and explore what it is in you that needs love and healing and attention, which frees you from any kind of comparison or competition or projection. And so that then makes me feel so safe. I'm going to get emotional talking about it already.
We welcome the emotions. This is definitely not the first time I've cried on the Deja Blu podcast.
Yeah, I've never, I have a Virgo moon, Virgo rising. I can be perfectionist with myself. And so it's been really challenging for me in my life to let myself be seen when I'm down, whether that's physically sick or, just going through it and feeling sad. And it's really tempting for me. And I think for everybody to kind of show like a version of myself that feels like lovable and desirable. And that's like a curated kind of version of who I am. But what that does is it stops me from being able to really experience not only intimacy with others, but intimacy with yourself, because then I'm denying other parts of myself. And so in sisterhood, when you're in connection with someone who is so deeply committed to their own healing, you're not fazed really by what it is that shows up for me. And you particularly have this kind of, I think, like eagle eye perspective. Like you hold the vision of like my highest self, I think, at all times. So I don't ever feel like you're going to hold me to this kind of like low energy that I might be swimming in at a certain time. Whereas in the past, I've felt like when I've been seen in versions of myself that I don't feel proud of, it's been kind of used against me. And I think that's really common. Like things get held over our head, and it's all just kind of like water off a duck's back with you. It's like you move quickly and you just kind of like hold the vision of my highest self. And I don't feel, I think that like subtle competition and subtle comparison is like so common, like more common than it's not in relationships, all relationship dynamics, like whether it's family, friends, sisterhood, and I genuinely feel none of that in our connection. And so that then it's very liberating. So there's no like looking over my shoulder, kind of like wondering how whatever it is I'm feeling is going to land for you, because it has nothing to do with you other than you just want to be present for me and love me. And so I don't know if that really answers the question.
There's multiple pieces of what you even just said. It does answer it, and it also hits two things that I find that over time my circle has got smaller and smaller and smaller, and I'm learning as I'm evolving, growing, or just spending more time on planet Earth through lived experiences, that there's two responses when somebody's not fully made peace with their own present moment. Is that when you're down, it can be used against you when you share vulnerably. What are your challenges? What are the things that you're working through? And another piece is that when you share your wins, that's also used against you. So it's almost like a catch-22. And I've experienced being so excited about the things that have been happening in my life that are like big and like special, and like this moment of collaborating with this person, we made a song, and it's, oh my goodness, I couldn't even imagine. My 5-year-old self is so stoked that happened in this lifetime for me. And then I bring this excitement, that Jupiter energy, and I'm like, hey, Dad did this, and instantly it's filtered through a lens of, well, because you're winning, I'm now not doing a good job. And so it's like, great. And then it's like, to make somebody feel better about where they're at in their journey, then going and gossiping or talking to somebody else about it, and it not genuinely being celebrated without it being filtered through, how is this making my life different? Or how is this impacting my reality? Then on the flip side of that, if I go, oh my goodness, I've just noticed I've called myself forward on a really deep wound that I didn't realize I was unconsciously playing, but I've done X, Y, and Z, and like being witnessed in that. Well, now all of a sudden, it makes somebody feel better about themselves because that person is no longer on the pedestal that they may have projected onto that person. And so then all of a sudden, now we've got ammo to talk about with other people. I'll be like, did you know that she actually does this? And I've noticed it in so many areas. It's so easy to fall into that trap because one has not integrated a relationship with the binary experience or a non-binary experience of there being a right and wrong of emotions, and it just is. And so it's sacred. So when that has genuinely been activated within someone's being, to be in the presence of another person, a sister or a friend, when you win, oh my God, I win too. Like your wins genuinely are my wins. When you feel healthy, when you feel happy, when you feel having like a high day on your health, like I'm having a high day on my health. Like I'm genuinely in that with you. When there's a moment or a dip or like a challenging experience, or you're starting to get caught up in your head and panicking about X, Y, or Z, where my mind goes is, how can I support to soothe your experience? Because in a ceremony, for example, like if we're sitting with cacao, right? It's a traditional medicine that is administered through burn marks on the body, which is it's a frog secretion from the back, is also known as a poison. But when worked together with an intentional setting and an honoring of the animal, then it's a medicine that helps to do. And listen, I'm no expert on cacao, so I'm not like pledging to be, but what I'm also referring to, it's a purgatory medicine. It's going to make you do a massive reset, and it purges out the toxins of the body. Now, if I was to apply that ceremony into the ceremony of life, the grand scale of life, when you're going through a challenging moment, when I'm going through a challenging moment, when Bernie's going through a challenging moment, whoever it may be that's close, I see it like a ceremony where you're purging. I can't purge for you. I can't get in your experience and make it stop. I'm not here to do that. That's not my responsibility. It's once the medicine is done, it's doing its thing. When life is doing its thing, when the heartbreaks come in, when the grief has come in, when the pain has come in, we're going to be doing a thing. What does feel better though is a fan. Oh God, it's so hot. I'm all sweaty. Here comes a fan. Here's a little bit of essential oil on the spine. Now that soothes the experience. So the worst thing that I could do is to take your purge bucket away and laugh at you, right? That's going to make you feel like shit while you're in the purge experience. That is what judgment does when somebody's going through a process. Also on the flip side is, well, I could actually just be here and listen to you and love you. And that is the greatest facilitator that I know. Is not trying to perform, not trying to take the pain away, not trying to like fix the situation, but to just soothe the experience. And it then passes. And the gratitude that we feel for in those moments where it's like, oh my God, I felt like shit. And you were just there holding my hair, loving me in a patient hum of the ceremony of it. But that happens to all of us. And I feel tired of like being afraid of opening up to people because it hasn't been safe for so long to just heal. Like we're all healing on our own and feeling isolated. We're all showing these really polished versions of ourselves on Instagram. And then as everyone else is watching it feels like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me because I'm not like that. And then when we do open up or express to people that we think we trust, it's used against us. And so we isolate ourselves, and yet it's in the isolation is where our immunity is completely like diminished, and our immunity is through community. But how are we going to heal the world if we're not actually healing each other through our loving presence and doing what we want to see on the micro level? And that's what you've brought into my life, is that when I go to your house, I know that there's going to be some fresh food, and there's going to be, you want to lay on the sofa? Let's lay on the sofa. You want to watch a movie? You want to watch a movie? What's most supportive for you? You want to go sit out by the fireplace? It's not loud. It's not performative. It doesn't need to be seen. You don't need to tell the world what you're doing. It's just who you are. That's why I think that you're one of the best kept secrets in all of the world. Because you can't buy a heart that you have. You can't buy it. Doesn't matter how many followers. Doesn't matter how much money. Doesn't matter what fancy clothes you wear. You cannot replace or create a heart that you have. You either have it or you don't. And you do. So the way that I show up on these podcasts and like show up in my strength and in my power and bringing these messages through, it is born from going through multiple deaths before I die and how I've been held in those deaths. So I wanted to bring you on the podcast, and I know that you have had challenge in the past around speaking publicly, that you have like physical reactions sometimes to be seen and witnessed. But I wanted to bring you on the podcast because I want to represent the not finished version, not the Zach Bushes and the Richard Rudds that have brought in bodies of work that have transformed the entire planet almost to the point where you kind of question if they're human anymore. It's like, how the heck are you where you're at right now? Like, are you accessing DNA that we don't have access to, or what's going on? I want to bring like the human that's still figuring it out every day.
Mm. Thank you for all of that. There's so many things I could say, but just into that piece, I think there's so many things that I hold so dear about our friendship, but just on kind of like a practical level, like we do spend an incredible amount of time together. And aside from just loving your presence and being around you, I think that a big piece of kind of why is you're an incredibly mission and purpose driven person, and in my own way I am too, but I don't always feel clear on what that purpose is. And I think that with the Zach Bushes and the Richard Rudds, like their contribution is so set, and I know of myself that I feel really connected to spirit. I feel really connected to my inner artist, and I know that part of what I'm here to do is to kind of communicate that spiritual connection, like through visual art. And sometimes that looks like my astrology deck. Sometimes that looks like a painting. Sometimes that looks like a dress that I make. And sometimes I have no idea what it is, but I have this like incredible feeling that I'm here to bring something to life and to dedicate my life to that. And so when we spend all this time together, because you have your own relationship to your purpose and your mission, which is like the center of the altar of your life, like we don't kill time. Like we're not wasting time. We're not talking about other people. We're not, drinking a bottle of wine every night and just numbing out. We're not, we'll watch TV every once in a while, but like that's not the way that we spend our time together. It feels very productive, and it feels like, yes, we're pouring into each other, but we're also somehow like moving towards whatever this purpose is independently. And then of course we merge and weave. But I think that I can be hard on myself sometimes, that I should have it more kind of clear and figured out what that thing is. And you said to me the other day that like purpose is something that kind of like builds and takes shape, and that like, and that it's something that kind of reveals itself to us, like as we start moving towards it. And it can be so easy to feel intimidated, especially with social media and people that are kind of like packaging their offerings and their kind of thing and their purpose out into the world. And it can feel, at least for me sometimes, like it's overwhelming. Like you feel this you feel it inside and you know there's something that wants to be birthed, but you don't even know where to start because it's like the mountain just feels so huge. And I think that you move quickly and you're really good at just kind of like you keep going and it just starts to kind of like take shape. And that for me it's been really activating, and I can see like the projects and the things that are starting to kind of come to life for me is a byproduct of like being around that sort of energy field. So yeah, just in terms of like a human in progress, purpose in progress, like that is very much what I am. And I can be hard on myself about it sometimes, but
what you're saying is reminding me, though, I can't tell you how many messages I get from how do you find your purpose, right? Like, we're like, live in your purpose, live from your heart. And it's like, yeah, that's beautiful. It sounds lovely. It's a blanket statement, but so many of us don't even know what that thing is yet. And then beat ourselves up that we're supposed to be more evolved, that we're supposed to have it figured out. And something that I have always felt is that the purpose is not found. It is activated in the present moment. And sometimes a purpose could be the ability to listen. Like, you have a really strong ability to listen. Now, that to me is part of your purpose, because you're listening in this moment is also you're listening to what moves through you when a deck description wants to lock in for this specific card. Like, it's the same listening. So that purpose found in that present moment, the only moment that we have for the rest of our lives right now, is also linked with your ability to listen to that which is needed for what it is that you're creating. So it is laced with your bigger purpose, but it's something that is created over an expansion of time. It's not, I've got to my thing and now I know my thing and then this is it for the rest of our lives. And this is where we get caught up, is we think that when I find my thing, then I'll be happy. And that, again, and I've spoken to this in a previous solo episode, is the waiting at expectation station and thinking, well, when it's over there or that's outside of myself, then I'll be able to achieve it. But actually, who we're being in the micro moments and the in-between moments is our purpose. And I believe that when you start putting aligned action to things that actually light you up, and you are being present in the in-between moments and gifting your heart to people, your purpose will continue to find you, because it's based off of a frequency. It's based off of an energy basis. And so if you're loving people and people feel relaxed and good in your presence, then they want you around more. And then you're creating art. Well, it's a 3-step process. Make dope art, ask for what you, or let them come to you and ask for what you want. So there's a forward momentum motion, because if you're just sitting at home on your sofa and loving people, well, that's only going to get you so far, because everything, energy is, it has to be in motion for it to be able to be activated. So if there's no energy in motion, energy in motion, pushing things forward, for example, creating a piece of art, then things can't actually find you, because there's no forward momentum energy. So it has to be met with the same energy. So I hope that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So your purpose is continue to unravel as you have a safe space for you to sing, for you to dance, for you to be seen in your challenge and in your superpowers. And what I'm starting to notice from this fertile soil is the genuine excitement that you're an artist and you love making art. And so sometimes we get caught up in our heads of what's my purpose, to the point where it's infinite possibilities, where we get inertia, where we don't do anything about it. So we are running in circles, chasing our own tail and wondering why we're not getting different results. But actually what it requires is a safe place. What I mean by a safe place is a loving place for all of it to be presented, to actually know if I sing and I sing off key, you're going to celebrate for the fact that I'm singing, not for the fact that I'm singing off key. And so then it becomes a safe place to be like, okay, I'm going to sing more. Well, all of a sudden, here comes your purpose. You're singing, you're expressing yourself, you're getting connected with your voice, and you're allowing yourself to be witnessed by the universe for expressing yourself. Now, that will always be rewarded, always. And so how can we set ourselves up in the friendship? And what you said also is that we don't just like hang out. And I've mentioned this multiple times on the podcast, and it's something that I'm challenged with on a daily basis, where there's a people that want to hang out and connect, and then I have this insane list of things that are all alignment with what I want to create, but I'm here to be mission driven. It's just part of my signature. And so when I'm hanging out with my friends, we're building something together, whether it's podcast production. You and I have a really exciting project that we'll go into a little bit later on the horizon that we're working on right now. We're working together when we're together. When we're not creating a safe place for our process, we're working, we're building something. These are the kind of energies that I want to like continuously be around. So for example, there was a bunch of humans that I'm grateful that wanted to hang out, and I couldn't give each person the time to go and grab coffee and have a connection, because I would have no time to do what it is that I'm here to do. So I decided to group everyone together and put them in a WhatsApp chat and say, okay, this is the hot yoga class. Like who I'm going to hot yoga at 7:30. Whoever wants to hang out, we've got 30 minutes afterwards to get breakfast. Like this is what I'm creating. This is the forward momentum motion, while also allowing the community to be the immunity, without needing to sit and get pulled into a stagnant frequency. And then from that stagnant frequency, gossip about people. Oh, it's my worst. I cannot think of anything. Well, I can think of many things worse, but like one of my least favorite pastimes is to gossip about people and just sit on the floor and talk about other people's lives. Like I'm just like, I literally feel like I need to take a shower afterward. So there's like almost like an unspoken like agreement in our time together. And there's also the synergy of like, we're not the same. We're not even close. We're kind of similar, but I'm really loud and outspoken and silly and I'm like the class clown kind of thing, and bringing down the silliness. And there's a softness and a gentleness and a presence and a stillness and a delicate immaculate nature. But what it does is I bring out the loudness and the more expressive side, and you bring out the softness and the delicate impeccability in me, and the finishing things when I start them, and like finishing projects. And so it actually creates this really sweet yin yang connection. And that's why I say I'm kind of like, we're like married.
It's true. But also, like, yes, you're loud and you're playful and all of those things. And like but I think what I love, or one of the things I love most about you, is you genuinely are having the best time being you. And so it's like, I never, like, you just crack yourself up all day long. And like, I don't know what you're laughing at, like the majority of the time, but just watching you like be elated and just like crack up, like within your own experience, brings me so much joy, and makes me laugh so hard. And I think that I've heard so many people reflect about you as like a permission slip. And it's like, what that is it's really rare to see someone who's like genuinely enjoying like being who they are. Like your unique makeup like brings you so much joy, and we are so different. And so there's never this feeling of like, oh, like I wish I could be blue. Like blue is blue. Like and we're so different that there's just like, it's just, there is no comparison. But what I always feel in your presence is like, I want to turn the dial up all the way up on Lily. And I think that you do that for everybody. It's like, it's this, and that's the permission slip thing. It's not like everyone is envious that you're like having a better time than anyone else. It's like, look at how like beautiful and radiant someone can be when they're like fully themselves. And that's, again, like I've never met anyone that has that effect on people. And I only want to be like, I only want to go in more on me and my life by witnessing you kind of go in so deeply into who you are.
I just have to say, though, that it's not like that with everybody. There are people that I have been around that I'm no longer around anymore, specifically, that I just shut down. I don't feel like I want to be silly. I'm not making jokes. I kind of like dissolve out of the conversation. I get really quiet. I do the complete opposite, actually. And I start feeling insecure and questioning myself. And that's the energy, right? It's an alchemical process. Yes, when I'm alone in my room, I crack myself up still. Like I'm being ridiculous most of the time. So that's really genuine. However, when I'm around others, it's not the case always. Like it's starting to become more of a default where I'm no longer swayed by external circumstances as to who I be. However, there is an alchemical process, and this is what I want to put emphasis on, of like genuine friendship. What is genuine friendship? What is genuine sisterhood? What is genuine brotherhood? What is genuine soul family? What does the texture feel like? So that what it does, what it gives us, is to be more of us. That's always the intention. And that's where I'm like, with social media, I'm like, hold on. I'm going to do what I can to ensure that we don't get caught up in the trap of comparison. Because comparison is the death of our uniqueness, and our uniqueness is our superpower. And so in our personal relationships, how can we celebrate the fuck out of each other? Because the amount of times it's like random off the cuff comments that we don't realize in the moment how detrimental they are to the way that somebody speaks to themselves, and being like, what the fuck are you wearing? Why are you wearing that? That is awful. Like, it's an awful thing to say. I come from England. It's a sarcastic way of humor. In the UK, what I've known for the most part is the sarcasm is to bring someone else down. That's the runt of people's jokes, is somebody else. So everybody's pointing the finger and like jeering at that person. And that person may be like, ha ha ha, because they're used to it. But they literally create 1 degree shift of the way that they speak to themselves when nobody's around. So what would it look like to actually celebrate the fuck out of complete strangers and your friends when they win and when they're in challenge? Like, for me, I love to celebrate when somebody's wearing something amazing out in public and I don't know that person. And instead of being like, oh, I just didn't say anything, I can tell you 100% of the time, if you compliment somebody, genuinely compliment them, just hand out compliments. But if you genuinely like their jacket, go tell them that you genuinely like their jacket. It will make their day, if not their moment, which is enough. And when somebody truly sees you for the gift and the beauty and the bounty of what you are amidst whatever, that can change that person's moment, which ultimately changes their day, which can change their life. And this is the priceless gift. This costs nothing. You don't have to have a bunch of money in your bank account to genuinely see someone. And that's the common theme here that we're all missing, is that everybody just wants to be loved. Some of us have very bizarre ways of asking for it. But to meet somebody that is just genuinely loving you is rare and pure medicine. And if you are blessed enough to spend a significant amount of time with them, watch your entire life change. And know that you can also be the gift that keeps on giving. Every single person can be the gift that keeps on giving. You're the gift that keeps on giving. Bernadette's the gift that keeps on giving. Amy's the gift that keeps on giving. Reggie's the gift that keeps on giving. Blue's the gift that keeps on giving. These dogs are the gift that keeps on giving. And so then you become medicine everywhere you go. And realizing that once that's locked in, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to dress a certain way. You don't have to be in a certain way. You don't have to have a certain body shape. It doesn't matter. People will want you in the space because of how you make the space feel. So watch doors open up for you. Watch opportunities present themselves to you. Watch beauty start to present itself in its life. And this is the gift that everybody can have access to. And it's an internal job. It's a new inverse. It's the internal reality that we're seeing externally, and it's the gift that we can give to other people. I would love to pivot into what has like been such an instrumental part of my own personal journey as of late. The reason why I even know you the creation that you made that was your medicine when you were sick. I would love to know a little bit about your journey with astrology and how it has helped you in your life. Like, I get a message from my mum the other day. She's like, listen, I'd love to know and understand, but I think that astrology is phony. I don't think it's actually real. And there's like Deborah Silverman's podcast is called I Don't Believe in Astrology, because she said the podcast is for everyone that doesn't believe in astrology. And I'd love to know a little bit about, because you've had a journey with Lyme's and I've been navigating some health challenges, and astrology came to you as a way of healing you and not only alchemizing some of the greatest challenges of your life so far, but you alchemized it into art, created beauty, and then gifted others the gift that keeps on giving. Because the thing with an astrology deck, or the thing with any deck, is that with a book, you just read it, you finish it, you put it on the shelf, or you give it to somebody else. You don't touch it again. With a deck, you keep coming back to it and you keep receiving new insight and new information. So it becomes the gift that keeps on giving. This is literally the physical embodiment of you, the gift that keeps on giving, the angelic creation of what you created from the font. She wrote the font by hand. This is not a text like from a computer. She drew everything by hand. She designed it meticulously. And also, in addition to this, and we can go into the deck, I guess, after your relationship with astrology, but this is so symbolic to me because you didn't sell yourself for the quality. Like, you would rather get paid less money and maintain the quality and maintain the integrity of this deck than to get a higher percentage, but to lose the integrity of the deck and to hand something over more mainstream and commercial. That is who you are. You're not selling your soul for profit. You are sharing because this is genuine medicine, the alchemical process of your greatest challenge into your greatest gift, and then sharing the gift that keeps on giving no matter what cost. So tell me a little bit about your journey with your healing journey and how astrology played a big role in that.
So I was introduced to astrology as a kid by my grandma, Shirley. And she was a very spiritual woman, and her home was like, it was like going to Hogwarts. Like, she had all the potions and all of like the magical trinkets everywhere. And so from a very young age, I was curious and drawn to kind of energy and the unseen worlds. And as I grew, I would get my chart read. I'd visit astrologers. I'd speak to psychics. And when I'd go through breakups or, career shifts in my 20s, I would always speak to these trusted guides that would kind of help me create context around what was going on. And then my Saturn return hit, and it was like a classic devastation of every area of my life. And I had a really long relationship come to an end, and my body
16 years
13. Yeah. And
I mean, that's not a small relationship, right? That's a good one.
Yeah, it was my whole adult life shared with this person. And I had some like really intense physical symptoms. I basically felt like I had the flu all the time. And I couldn't get out of bed. I was exhausted. I was like unable to kind of maintain the life that I had built for myself. I had a store in Venice and a clothing line. And for years I had felt this knowing that the relationship and the business had run its course and that they were out of alignment. And so when you're holding on to something that you need to let go of, it's a huge energy leak. And I could feel my body kind of like losing its vitality as I was in resistance to letting go of these things that I really relied on for an identity. And then my body, the symptoms got louder and louder, and my body made it so that I had to choose myself, and I had to kind of make the space to go on this healing journey. And so the relationship ended. I closed my business down, and I devoted myself to understanding what was going on with my body. And I was given all kinds of diagnosis, like autoimmune stuff, Lyme disease. And for a few years, there was a lot of deep healing work on the physical level, but it became like completely intertwined with my emotional, mental, spiritual healing. And my symptoms were like at a level 10 for such a long time that I wasn't able to rebuild any area of my life that I had kind of like dismantled. And so I was really in the void, like pretty shapeless without much of an identity for a few years. And when you're in that state, it's very disorienting, and it's natural to kind of get really grabby with astrologers, with psychics, with people to kind of tell you like when it's going to be over, or that like some kind of amazing thing is right around the corner. And so I found myself doing that. And then I had a pretty clear download that what I needed to do was empower myself to really learn how to read my own chart and to understand from firsthand kind of knowledge what was going on in my life, and to see it's different for someone else to kind of read your chart for you and help you create context around something that you feel really confused about. It's helpful for sure. But it's a whole different experience to be able to see that for yourself. And it's a language, astrology. And as you learn the language, it becomes a practice, daily, if you want it to be, where you can start to understand like the energetic undercurrent of your life, and no matter what it is you're going through. And for me specifically, I started to understand that this health challenge that I was presented with was about Pluto. It was about like learning to get like comfortable with fear and learning how to let go and like create space for that rebirth process, and to feel safe when everything around me tells me I'm not safe, and to kind of find that stillness in the combo ceremony or whatever. Like that is, from an energetic standpoint, that is what my whole Lyme thing is about. And so for me, I do have all of this Virgo energy as well, which can be really, it's earth energy. It can feel controlling easily, or I have the desire to sort of control things. And so astrology is kind of like this perfect tool for me, because it's not so much that it changes what's going on that I am struggling to accept, but it helps me understand that I'm a part of like a larger story,
a much bigger whole,
and that I'm safe in the universe's embrace, essentially.
That there's a purpose for it, that it's meticulously designed for the greatest healing and the evolution of yourself, as opposed to getting caught in the identification that something's wrong and therefore resisting what is.
Exactly. Thank you. That's it. And so Heavenly Bodies, my deck, it wasn't something I was ever going to share. It wasn't something that I didn't sit down to create a deck or write a book. I had closed down this previous business, this clothing line, where I felt really disconnected from my inner artist by the end of that career. And I was really, my hands were like itching to just create and get back in the studio. And I was immersed in the world of astrology. And so I started painting. I was inspired by what it was I was learning about. And
how many original pieces?
I have the original pieces.
How many original?
Oh, probably like 70 maybe.
70 original pieces of art you created by hand.
Yeah.
As well as all the descriptions, as well as learning astrology from the inside out, while also navigating a massive health crisis while playing around with the Tower card with tarot, which is where everything that you identified with is completely deconstructed around you. You went into the depth of your healing journey, and from the depth of your pain pulled out something that has created value for other people and has created beauty in other people's world when we are calling in guidance. Your energy has traveled around the world and has been a guiding force for so many people that are in the what the fuck moments, that you created a gift and alchemized lead into gold, turned it into something that really has changed people's lives, and became the student yourself. Like, there's so much inspiration and beauty from that process, because every single person goes through something really gnarly, really painful. Our Achilles heel, our greatest challenge, if not many. Being human is weird and painful and challenging and heartbreaking and beautiful and awe-inspiring and everything in between. But what do we do with the lead when it's presented to us? And you became a student and therefore also simultaneously a teacher that actually brought you into my life, or brought me into yours. And we had a psychic, which I mentioned on the previous episode. I did a solo episode where I talked about the psychic. We're not going to mention her name, otherwise we won't have access to her anymore. Mine. But what did she say about?
She said that my grandma Shirley, who I just mentioned, my first spiritual teacher, that she found blue for me and orchestrated us coming together. And I painted every single painting that became Heavenly Bodies was painted with one paintbrush. And I didn't realize that actually until the end. And it was hers. She was also a painter. And she, a lot of the work she made was very much in keeping with this. And I feel like she kind of began Heavenly Bodies for me in her lifetime, and through just basking in her energy field as a kid and what she kind of inspired in me, like allowed me to sort of finish what she started with this deck. And then it was the deck that connected you and I. And then this psychic told me that it was her.
I mean, think about it. 8 billion people on the planet. You can't even fathom how much 8 billion is, right? Like, I like see like a football stadium of people. That's what, like 90,000 people. And like, that's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And then like from that onwards, it just goes into the category of a lot, right? But the mind can't even compute how many humans are 8 billion humans. Like, you put 8 billion humans in one place, you would never see the end of it going out far and wide, right? So the chances of the way that you interact with the people that have come into your life is not an off chance. It is designed meticulously. The ones that trigger the fuck out of you, the ones that illuminate you from the inside out, all of it is meticulously designed. Now, when a psychic that does not know anything about you or I, does not know about our friendship or our connection, just knows that we're friends, that's it. When she says that your grandma is working through you in your creations and your art, and she meticulously orchestrated or had some divine intervention to bring you and I together through your art, and you remember after the reading that you're making the art with her paintbrush and she's moving through you while you create this body of work that then goes out into 8 billion people that can have access to this deck. And it's me that's on a boat in Greece that where a friend comes over and does a reading for me, to the point which I love the cards so much that there and then I ordered them online, and I ordered it also for other people because I thought they would love it too. And then I get home and then you send me a message because you found me on a podcast. What are the odds, babe?
Well, also, you and I have spoken about this a lot. Just our meeting was also very out of character for both of us. Like, I am a hermit and I don't reach out to people on Instagram. And
you don't even open your messages on Instagram. I've seen your Instagram account. I'm like, she's always has like at least 100 unread text messages and never opens any of her DMs on Instagram. And I'm like, how do you that fucking notification thing?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
And
I have to read it.
And Blue doesn't go to random people's houses and have tea and so we both kind of operated in very out of character ways. Thankfully. Yeah. And
I mean,
here we are.
If somebody like reaches out and they're like, hey, like I really resonate with your content, would love to meet up. Like, yeah, I really appreciate that. And that's what it also means, you know, like outward facing, in the sense of there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people that tune into the podcast. And there's, because of the nature of the theme of the podcast, it feels very intimate, it feels very personal, it feels like we become friends with each other. I don't personally know all the people that are listening to the episodes. I just trust that those who are in resonance to the message will find me. And then on the other side of that, the filtering system of somebody reaching out and saying, hey, I resonate, like I would love to connect. 99.999999999% of the time, I don't. And there was just a divine orchestration of you going out of your hermit bubble, making your way all the way down to downtown. The parking situation, it took like an hour to find parking, just like that whole, it was nuts. And now when I actually know Lily, I'm like, what were you thinking? Like, there's no way. If I had told you to do that knowing you now, I wouldn't have even run it by you. I would be like, no, she won't do that. Like, it's just so out of character. And then for me to meet you in a meet and greet line, 30 seconds, and then to be like, I gotta go to her house and have lunch. Like, when the psychic says that your grandmother's orchestrating it, I believe it with every single fiber and cell of my being that that's the truth.
Yeah.
And I'm really careful about what I claim to be the truth. I try to get as close to the truth as I can possibly feel the resonance of, but I don't really claim the truth very often. But I feel like that's the truth.
It's true. It's the truth.
You seem pretty sure on
I'm
it
positive.
It's so special. And it's magic. It's laced with divine intervention. It's laced with magic. And this is what this deck is. Like, it's laced. I mean, I'm getting shivers all over. It's laced with relatability. Because I don't think that it's our champagne popping moments that connects us. I don't think they're actually that relatable for most people, to be honest. Specifically, people that have extensive privilege. It's like, yeah, because you got a great start in life or X, Y, and Z. And that's a whole topic in its own. But it's our health issues. It's our struggle. It's our pain. It's our loss. It's our grief that actually connects us. When we see like natural disasters, what do people do? They come together. They take each other in. They take care of the animals that are fleeing and need water and shelter. Like, we take care of each other. Humans are good. I believe that inherently. I think that we've just been programmed otherwise, but I think we're inherently good in our core of cores. But it's our challenge that connects us, and it's your challenge that created something so beautiful.
Yeah, it could have been a really dark chapter of my life, and like, dark isn't the word that I would use to describe it. It's like, it was transformative, it was challenging, and I'm still dancing with it. It's like, it's still present sometimes, but with this project, like, I allowed myself to just like surrender into what I was going through, and somehow something beautiful, these paintings, like, poured through my hands, and I would pin them all over my walls. Like, you've been in my studio and you see how I put everything on the walls. And so by the end of finishing this body of work, my studio was the deck. It was like, you could have like walked inside the studio, and it was like walking inside the deck. And for me, it showed me that there is so much beauty on the other side of challenge if we like actually go into the challenge and sort of like work with it. Like, had I not taken like a hiatus from like life, all the shoulds of like what my life should be in my late 20s, early 30s, I wouldn't have had the space to this birthed through me, because I gave it the space to do that. And so it's a reminder that I'm still like, it's a teacher for me too, still. Like, I still am learning that lesson, but this is like this symbol of like what that lesson is when I allow myself to kind of lean into it.
I want to pull a card.
Pull a card.
Maybe instead of reading the description, you can tell me what your interpretation of the card is. Let's do it. Seeing as you created the deck. My question is, or my ask is, any energy that is most alive that wants my attention right now, that is calling me in the present moment for this next stage, something that wants my awareness or just wants me to have a deeper sense of clarity around as I move forward to this next chapter. As I'm about to go to England to go be with my parents. It's exciting.
Oh my God, beautiful.
If I haven't seen it yet, I don't know.
Sagittarius.
Oh,
I mean, first of all,
it's
it's your rising sign.
It's my rising sign. Okay.
Yeah.
Optimism, exploration. I feel that. And
Yeah.
freedom. Tell us about the Sagittarius card.
Oh,
Yeah, she made all of this. She drew all of it. It's so honestly, like when you know the story behind it and you understand the energy of the grandma coming through and like what it's done and the magic and where it's come from and the journey in the process, and then just how beautiful each card is. Like it's my favorite thing to gift right now, either this or Symbiotica products, like things that are really going to either on a spiritual way are going to like enhance your experience, or on a physical way are going to enhance your experience. Like I love to gift those kind of things that really just became the gift that keep on giving, and health is one of them, and understanding a deeper level of our soul is another, through such an elegant way of delivering it. So tell us about the Sagittarius card.
Well, in like a very practical sense, it's like the adventurer. So you're like embarking on an adventure, and but like on a higher level, it's like it's connected to God, to spirit, and so it's like about like looking for like a higher meaning and like viewing life from a higher perspective. So kind of everything I just spoke into about like what astrology is for me, that like seeing my life through the lens of spirituality is like very Sagittarian, and it's ruled by Jupiter, which is like it's infinity and it's like expansiveness and it's unconfined and uncontained and possibilities are endless. And
that's what I feel about traveling.
Yeah.
Right. Like I've been like in Blue Daddy season. If you've been listening to the podcast, you know what Blue Daddy season is. Blue Daddy season is the structures, the back end, the accounting, the crossing the T's, dotting the I's, the never-ending to-do list, the laptop work, the calls, the meetings, the infrastructure, the payroll, all of that sort of stuff. It's super important. It's also not my highest assignment. But I'm learning to do what I don't love with 200%. And that's really been an incredible ally to have. However, when I travel, I'm no longer in the predictable nature. I'm no longer in... well, I know what's going to happen today. I'm going to go to yoga. I'm going to have this instructor. I'm going to meet my friends there. Then we're going to have a coffee. And then we're going to come home. And then we're going to get on with work. And then from finish work, I'm going to go and, it's just predictable. When I'm traveling, I don't know who I'm going to sit next to on the train. But of all 8 billion people, that person's sitting next to me for a reason. And if I can open my heart enough to not be distracted by my phone and just ask them a simple question, I may just find the golden thread as to why they're here. And when I go to a cafe, and I have a conversation with the waitress, or I'm in a different culture and there's different foods and different ingredients and how my body responds to it. From the smells that I walk down after a street after it's just freshly rained, and the smell of the wet grass and the leaves. England has a different texture, a different flavor, a different culture. The bricks tell a different story. They've been those bricks for hundreds of years. America's only 5 generations old, so there's only so much depth and culture that I can receive from being in this country. And when I go to the UK, that's where my ancestors walked those lands. And so the Sagittarian energy, which is my rising, which is what I'm moving into, I feel that when I go traveling, that the Sagittarian energy is so activated in me, and I see life as one giant adventure waiting to be had. And that's why I love traveling, specifically solo. I love traveling solo because I'm no longer, if I'm sitting with you and I'm having a chat, well, I'm in my comfort zone still, because if anything, I know that I can just talk to you. But when I'm alone, it's just me and the elements, baby. And we're going to find out what the universe wants to present it to me, but it usually presents it to me based off of what I'm emanating. And if what I'm emanating is the excitement and the joy of the adventure, then there's lots of things to experience. So I love that I pulled that because I already felt it, but I also felt an infinite amount of things, but I felt that excitement and that adventure. Now you reflecting it back through the card, it gives context, so I can double down on the energy of the adventurous spirit, the excitement, the exploration of the Sagittarian energy, and really use that as my very clear intention moving forward as I go on this trip. So in real time, the power.
That's it.
Of Heavenly Bodies Astrology Deck. It's so good. It's also another way to learn astrology.
Yeah.
This, by the way, the intention of this podcast was not to sell the Heavenly Bodies Astrology Deck. Not once did I even mention it. Even on the way downstairs, I just like grabbed it off the side and was like, this is going to come with this on the podcast, because I feel like it's like a part of it's your essence outside of your body.
Yeah.
And so it just makes sense to bring it here. And it's just something that I believe in with my whole heart and soul. Like, I just love this deck, and it's my favorite thing to gift people now. whenever we go anywhere, I'm like, can we bring a deck?
You do.
Can we gift it to someone? And then I like get really excited, even though I feel a little bit like a fraud when I do this, because like you're sitting right there and I like have it in my basket and I come out and I'm like, here's a deck. She made it. I love knowing that people are going to wake up in the morning and they're going to pull a card from this.
It makes me so happy.
It's the best. Divinity does not advertise, PS.
Mm-mm.
If you have a great offering, you do not have to spend $1 on advertising.
Yeah.
Insurance companies spend so much money on advertising because nobody fucking wants insurance. Like, it's the biggest scam ever. Come on. Right? But like, you know, they've got to sell it. They've got to make the commercials funny so that you kind of hook on, because you know you have to get insurance. So which one are you going to choose? Well, I'm going to choose the insurance with the funny commercials because it's got a ring, like it's a really like contagious jingle that plays on it. And so now I want to get that insurance. Nah, this isn't a marketing plan. It's not like you just read it, pull the card, and you're like, oh my God, I love this. Just like how I came across it. I loved it so much, I bought my own version. No one was telling me to buy it because of a funny jingle. You know? So for me, it's so easy to talk about something like this because it's your angelic, genuine, authentic, wise, ancient soul outside of your body in the essence, not sold for money, not because you're making massive profit off of it. You actually sign the royalties over majority so that you maintain the integrity of the deck. So this isn't done just to make money. This is done as an act of healing.
Yeah.
And now other people get to have it.
Yeah.
So get your copy in the show notes. And the link is in the show notes. I'm not even joking. I really just want to continue to see you be supported for what you've done and creating this.
Thanks,
so it's my honor and my excitement to be able to open the door for others to be able to experience this. And once you get your hands on a copy, you'll understand and you'll know that what I'm talking about. You'll feel it as soon as you open the book. You're going to be like, whoa, it's just this wave of angelic.
It is like a treasure chest.
It's a treasure chest.
It's like looking into like a tide pool, or like it's just, there's so many layers to explore.
It's magic because it's you. And we have
something
to share, which is also really exciting. That scares the shit out of me, honestly.
Do you want to give the whole thing away or just a little bit of it?
Well, we didn't talk about this before the podcast, did we?
No, we didn't. I'll leave it to you. I trust you.
Okay. So this is the first time that we've announced it or shared anything about this. But Lily and I are collaborating together and we are making our very own deck. So this is something that we are working on. I'm not going to tell you exactly the theme of it. We're going to let that to be like a mystery because it's not going to be an astrology deck. It's going to be an extension of the Heavenly Bodies line, because why would you not want to take the baton from this one and to continue to run and continue to see what we can create together. But it makes the most sense for us to bring our time and our energy together, continue to create something. And as both of us are artists, and I love to be a wordsmith and to pray, and you're an incredible writer, and both of us are artists in our own way, and we spend so much time together, it makes the most sense in the world for us to collaborate on the project like this that is going to take us 10 months to create, which we just started. And so Lily and I are officially making a deck. Yay!
So excited.
Blue Lily.
Blue Lily. It's happening.
So I've definitely asked Lily to just kind of like hold my hand on this one and guide me.
What are you afraid of?
I'm afraid that I feel like I'm busy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to give this the energy that it deserves.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my fears. Another fear of mine is that I won't be able to make the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
That brings up like emotions from school. I remember being in class and be like, all right, everyone get out your homework. And I was like, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to do it again. That is something. And I did literally just dissolve into my chair. I was like, oh, no, I haven't done it. So that, I guess, is another fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't want to let you down. Like, as a fear, I don't want to become a weight for you in your creative process, because there's something so special as an artist to cocoon and go into the hermit mode and disappear and know you've got your own back. But there's another thing when you've got a blank canvas and you've painted the first layer, and then I come in and you got to trust that what's going to come out of me is you trust as much as what's going to come out of you.
I think that the astrology deck was definitely a hermit creation. Like I was in a cocoon and I really didn't see anyone other than my mom for like 2.5 years. I was so focused on this like 7 days a week. And my hesitation to creating another deck is I don't want to sort of I don't want to disappear. Like I want to find a way to tap into this realm like while I'm still like here on this planet, and to like let others like into my experience and for it to not feel so solitary. So it's such a gift to be able to kind of share this creative portal with you. And there isn't really anyone else that I think I could do this with, but there's something about our energetic combination where I can like feel like my whole essence, like as if I'm alone, like in your presence. And so I know nothing of me will get lost like in our collaboration. And I mean, it's early days, but at the moment it's actually helpful to kind of work into your schedule and to kind of use it to build out like my structure of what needs to happen when. So we'll see, to be continued.
Yeah, well,
but
we'll
it's
find
exciting
out now. But now the world knows, so
we've got
no
our guard
pressure.
dog here. We've got our guard dog here.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see in the wide angle, but we have Sarah here on the set. That she's from ancient Egypt, but that's a different story. Anyways, Lily, I'm so excited for everything to come, and there's something incredibly beautiful about just being witnessed in each other's fears as we continue to be the fool, like the fool of the tarot, which is to step off the cliff and to go on an adventure and kind of have this like happy-go-lucky whimsical energy, which works in your favor because you push the first domino, but also in the same time you don't realize the trials and tribulations that also come with the hero's journey. And so we are stepping off the edge of the cliff as the fool with a big smile on our face, holding the flower and kind of stepping off the edge of the cliff and trusting what's going to come. But I feel very, very rested knowing that I'm in the hands of the individual that created this, because that is pure magic. And so I feel honored to have an opportunity to be to walk hand in hand and to support each other during this birthing process. Before we are actual mothers, we are birthing a creative being into the world, and to allow it to be the gift that keeps on giving as it continues to spread around the planet. And in addition to that, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and thank you for feeling the fears and doing it anyway, for being able to be witnessed in your radiance and your magnificence, and to receive my adoration that I am doing in a very obviously public way of celebrating the fuck out of you. But I don't say anything that I don't mean, truly, in my heart of hearts, and everything is very genuine and sincere. And I just want to publicly say that you've changed my life. You've made me a better human. You have introduced me into a deeper sense of compassion for myself and for others. You've allowed me to be a more nurturing woman, to soften into my feminine and to stand tall in my masculine. And you've allowed me to recognize that all parts of me are lovable, no matter what, even my golem phase. And thank you. This is a gift that will live with me forever. So you are already living in your purpose.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I love you so much. Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for everything. There are no words.
Oh, this one's right in the feels, fam. This one's right in the heart space. If you don't know or you don't follow Lily Ashwell, her Instagram handle is @LilyAshwell on Instagram. And you won't regret it. She shares beautiful insights of astrology and just little moments of her musings of her life. And she is a walking muse, an incredible artist extraordinaire from all degrees and from all angles. And somebody that is like a massive pivotal part in my life. And so I want to, on this podcast, yes, I share with you people that have inspired me through their teachings and their work, but I also want to share with you people that inspire me on a daily basis, that are literally the hand on my spine when I show up for these podcasts. And Lily is most certainly one of those people. So if you resonate with today's episode, or if you feel like this would be benefit to other people, then please go ahead and share it on your Instagram stories. If something that you would like to buy a gift, and you would like to gift someone the opportunity of having divinity in a box form, clarity and guidance and intuition and insight to support with your journey, then the Heavenly Bodies Astrology Deck is available. Press the link in the bio, and I'm sure we will also have a little bit of a Bluebird discount for all of you as well, which Lily has gifted so generously. So this will be the place to get it. Do not get it on Amazon, because we're trying to kind of branch away from the Amazon platform and not continue to support massive corporations that completely override artists. So I hope I can say that out loud. That's all right that I said that. But we're going to do it so that you can get a discounted rate on Lily's website, and we'll make sure that you get it in a good amount of time, and that you can feel good knowing that you have supported the artist, and that you've also received a discount and been able to receive the gift that keeps on giving, which is the Heavenly Bodies Astrology Deck. So thank you so much for tuning into a very personal episode that is very close to my heart, and something that is the gift that keeps weaving so much beauty into my life, so that I can genuinely share from that place moving forward. And to each and every one of you for being here on this Deja Blu podcast journey. It is such a gift for me to be able to share these moments with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you to each and every one of you for being on this journey with me. You are so loved and seen and appreciated and respected and cherished for the uniqueness that you are, that nobody else on this planet can ever do what it is that you are here to bring. And may you be curious enough to activate that in the present moment, recognizing it's in this present moment where your purpose is found. Sending you so much love, and until next week, blessings.